the Iona campus is the demolishing. It's 90% done. All the debris out of the Mirage Diner. Now, this is a New Rochelle landmark, not officially, but people in New Rochelle, the Iona community embraced the Mirage Diner, and now it's being shut down to build dorms. So it's a bittersweet day for the Iona campus.
Yeah, no, you know more about that. Well, I think everybody knows about
the Mirage Diner.
It was the Mirage. I mean, whether it was 3 a.m. in the morning and you were hungry, you could just
get a pancake and a burger.
Yeah,
burgers were on point.
Put on some put an omelet. I'm an omelet guy.
Okay.
If it's that time in the morning, I just want to grab an omelet. But that was the place to go if you were really in need of a convenient spot to eat. And it was open all night, right?
Yes.
It was open all night. I thought they had good food.
The burgers was on point.
Little overpriced, but that's diners.
Yeah.
I think diners are normally
supposed to do that.
They're a little overpriced. But
bittersweet day for the campus.
Bittersweet day. And you know what another thing is? It was for the fact that it was in the middle, right across the street from a campus, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine the business they got from everybody?
Yes, meal cards. Even in the community, that place been there since 1950.
Yeah.
So New Rochellians and the people of Westchester embraced the Mirage Diner.
Yeah, and people realize that, in case you don't know the backstory, that Iona had bought them out pretty much to change it into, what is it going to be?
Dormitories.
Dormitories?
And a business underneath.
Yeah, so, it's money wins, but...
I think today is a day of future.
All right.
Day of future because...
Why is that?
The bittersweet moment of the Mirage Diner going down, but Iona's making moves to build a dorm. And also today is the Intern Expo, even though there's not a lot of mass comm things, which is pretty janked by the college not inviting them. But and NBA trade deadline. Futures, the day of future.
There we go. Future teams preparing for the future.
Yes.
Right? Teams trying to make themselves better for the stretch, if you could call it.
Playoff stretch, yes.
Playoff stretch. So why don't we begin with the 2015 NBA deadline?
All right, it is 11:11 p.m. Eastern Time. The trade deadline ends at 3 p.m. Eastern. There's already been moves made throughout the whole entire stretch of the trade deadline, but today moves are made especially. The first major move, you could say, was Aaron Aflalo going to Portland. This dude, Aaron Aflalo's nice scorer. He came out in the league actually for his defense. He was known for his defense, but he was moved around, and then he became his offensive game. He's averaging 14.5 points, and that's pretty big for Portland.
Yeah.
Portland is a young team with Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge, and it solidifies the bench a little bit more with Kaman and freaking Steve Blake.
It is. Kaman and Blake came over from the Lakers, and that's a big pickup for you because, as you were saying, for the Trailblazers, because Aflalo comes over averaging 14.5.
Yes.
I mean that's a solid offensive production. Right there that you're able to pick up for a team that really has no problem with Lillard and Aldridge scoring, but to pick up that extra offense and also a good defensive player,
yes.
An all around I think good move for Portland.
Also, this move is interchangeable due to the fact that Wesley Matthews and Aaron Aflalo is pretty much the same player, so there's no lack when Matthews comes out and Aflalo comes in. Also, you expect Aaron Aflalo to do the same thing as a Nicholas Batum, known for his defense, known to put up buckets. That's not a question. So it's a good move. And they gave up Thomas Robinson, Will Barron, and Claver. Those aren't marquee players.
Right.
They're different. Well, Thomas Robinson can be a difference maker, but Aaron Aflalo is a difference maker, and that's what Portland need to prevail if they want to win a championship this year.
Yeah, those other guys we talked about last week, the difference between potential and production.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? Aaron Aflalo's on that the side of the spectrum of production. Those other guys were still on the side of potential.
Also, another move that was made in the NBA trade deadline is the Denver Nuggets also making a move, sending JaVale McGee to Philly.
JaVale McGee
for a first-round pick. Now, JaVale McGee has a large contract, over $10 million, so Philly might be looking to buy out JaVale McGee.
Okay.
So that I want to see if McGee stays. I want to see how he played with Nerlens. If Embiid ever comes in, Michael Carter.
Yeah,
it would be fun to watch.
We've been watching a team now for a while that really hasn't given anyone reason to believe they're going to be good because they've had a couple of really, especially last year it started all off with that monster historic
0-26
historic losing streak. But it's a team. Look at the Bucks, right? Look at the Bucks. Last year, they really didn't do anything.
No.
And this year they're a contender.
Yes.
And it just goes to show you that a young team that has players who are potentially good can be a future contender. They just have to build up, and that's that philosophy. You're a team. You're young. I mean, look at Philly. Michael Carter Williams. Of course, Joel Embiid. They have the necessary foundation to build up. But they just need to continue developing these players, and their time will come.
In other news with this, we're talking about JaVale McGee. 76ers coach Brett Brown said, I would prefer not to comment when talking about Joel Embiid. JaVale McGee, excuse me.
I wonder what.
So maybe he might get bought out. And if JaVale McGee gets bought out, he is going to a contender. JaVale McGee can't make a difference when he's healthy. Even though he's, the Shaqtin' a full MVP, of bonehead plays, JaVale McGee.
Right.
He can still contend and be a factor on the defensive side of the ball. And also, if we're on the topic of buyouts, we know Amari Stoudemire has been bought out by the New York Knicks, and now he's a Dallas Maverick. This is a sad move.
Yeah, Ben. I know you were a big Amari fan. I mean, I really liked Amari. I mean, I thought that the problem with him was obviously throughout his career he's been plagued with injury.
Yes,
and that has been one of the most inhibiting factors to his career. But Amari was a big part of that team that won 54 games a couple of years ago, and was a factor. Just when he was on the court and healthy was definitely a threatful
yes,
a threat. He imposed a threat on the court. He was able to score. He was able to definitely play well inside, and it was just it's sad to see him go.
The man embraced the city of New York.
He did.
When he first came in here, 2010. He wasn't. The Knicks didn't get LeBron. The Knicks didn't get Bosh. It was Amari Stoudemire, and Stoudemire put the city on his back, and he embraced New York. And it's funny how the Knicks fans say, "Yeah, get him out of here. Good riddance, Amari Stoudemire." But when the expert says, he's making a difference on the Mavs, what you guys say about that?
Well, you know what? I mean, listen. If you're a fan, right, and you say your normal reaction for any player who was a good player and starts to decline, unless he was a beloved player on that team, and what I mean by beloved is that, a Derek Jeter would be a beloved player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and when Derek Jeter begins to decline, even though he didn't have a long decline, he had about a year of a decline, his numbers were pretty good up until the point when he retired. But even if he did decline, nobody's going to sit there and say good riddance when he leaves. Now, you talk about Amari, and
they're saying good riddance.
Yeah, but Amari wasn't a beloved player in New York, and what I mean by that is he was liked.
He was doing well. He was liked.
But the same thing with A-Rod. When A-Rod was doing well, the Yankees fans liked him. Mm-hmm. But when he starts to decline, it's good riddance. They don't want to see you anymore. So for Amari, to relate it from sport to sport, Amari was one of those players that when he was producing, when he was healthy, when he was helping the team win, everybody loved him. But now because they have no use for him, the fans of New York, not the nicest fans in the world,
correct,
they will be ready to dispose of you.
On the topic of buyout, Larry Sanders and the Milwaukee Bucks are looking for a buyout. Now, Larry Sanders is a 6'10", 6'11", big man defender. He blocks shots. He led the league in blocks one year. And he really said, I have no interest in playing basketball anymore. But if he gets bought out, and if he can get on a contending team, he's gonna have interest to play ball.
He'll get that interest right back. That's it's funny when a player says, "I have no interest playing basketball anymore." We had a recent retiree in the NFL who used that same statement. I'm done with football. I don't believe I want to. Now who was that again? I remember.
Well, I know Fisher did that. He played like 6 games for the Mavs, retired, came on the Thunder, tried to get a title.
Yeah, but I remember that, and that's even funnier. But the fact that, oh geez, I can't remember which NFL player this was. It was recent, and
was it LeGarrette?
No. This was about maybe a year ago.
I don't recall.
Jeez, this is gonna bug me. Yeah, he said, I'm just done. We spent the show. We spent the whole segment talking about him.
I have no idea. I forgot.
Yeah, we'll get when we remember. We'll let you know. But anyway,
back to the NBA spiel. Andre Miller was traded from the Washington Wizards last year. He was traded on the deadline from Denver. He was in Brian Shaw, then went to Washington to mentor John Wall, and now he's moving to Sacramento. Ramon Sessions is shipped to the Wizards. The point guard for point guard deal, but what's interesting about this point guard deal is Andre Miller was a former player for new Sacramento Kings head coach George Karl.
Yeah.
So that's a move saying, I'm George Karl, this is my team, let me get my veteran point guard.
Yeah, and you know what? You can't argue with that because if look at the way the Knicks played when they won 54 games, a few years ago with
they went older.
They went older. Jason Kidd was a leader on that team. Marcus Camby was
Kurt Thomas made an impact. Don't get me wrong, Kurt Thomas.
They had leadership on that team, and you can't blame Karl for wanting to have Miller back. He's somebody he knows, a veteran, somebody who can lead.
Don't forget, in this trade deadline, a lot of trades were made before today the actual deadline occurred. Knicks fans recall J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, Cleveland, Rajon Rondo, Celtics to Boston. Yeah. And Brandon Wright was also in that deal to Boston, but now he's in Phoenix, so Boston got rid of him.
Right.
Charlotte moved Gary Neal from Mo Williams. Now Gary Neal wants out of Minnesota.
Yeah.
So another player looking to make a championship run. Now rumors. Hold on. I got to unlock my phone because if you remember earlier in the NBA season, there was a deal in place for Brook Lopez to be moved to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And then Lance Stevenson was going to Brooklyn and Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, and now the talk today.
Reggie Jackson is back on this trading deadline block.
Yeah.
Now, but the big contender is Brooklyn. They're going to look for Brooklyn to get Brook Lopez, and they're going to put Jared Jack in the deal per source.
Yeah, because you know what this is right now? It's what we like to call a mass exodus out of Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
It could be. It has the potential to be a mass exodus out of Brooklyn. And when we look back at, let's say... let me think now. The 2000, what year are we in? 15? 2013 Boston Red Sox. After that year that they wound up in last place, I believe that was the year.
The year when they didn't win the chip.
Well, yeah, but...
Yeah. The year after they won the chip. No, the year before, with Valentine.
The year with Bobby Valentine. Yeah. That was 2013, wasn't it? I believe it was 2013.
Which one?
Oh, it was 2000. We have Ian Sachs in the control room.
Thanks, Sachs.
He's updating us. That was 2012. The year with Bobby Valentine, we'll go by that. The Red Sox disposed of everybody after that year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. And you know what's surprising about that year is that they had such a talented team. They had Adrian Gonzalez on that team. They had Carl Crawford on that team. They had Josh Beckett on that team. They had, and when it was all said and done, they had to get rid of all these players who were being paid a lot of money to do nothing because they weren't playing well together under Bobby Valentine. And I can see the Brooklyn Nets, as this trade deadline approaches its end, that they may be disposing of, their owner gave up the team already.
Not Prokhorov.
Yeah, Prokhorov already gave up the team. They may be breaking up that big three who was the highest paid trio in the NBA.
Yes.
Going into this year. That's unbelievable. I mean, look at the Cavs, look at the previous Heat and the big threes they had, and you realize that the Nets, a team that is mediocre, had Brook Lopez, Joe Johnson, and of course Darren Williams as their highest paid big three. It's just it's unfathomable how it worked out for them.
And Joe Johnson, Pistons are very interested in Joe Johnson. They packaged the deal. This not official. They said Brandon Jennings, Caron Butler, Branko,
right.
Jonas to Brooklyn for Joe Johnson, and Darren Williams rumors. George Karl might want him as well, and Jarek Jack. The Pistons are interested in. What I love about this. Oh well, yeah, Jack's a journeyman. He's been on a different team every year.
Jack. He's had his small and few bright spots this year, but there weren't many of them.
So, and other KG might be on the move.
Back to the Timberwolves.
He has a no trade clause, so he would have to unlift his trade clause. And Thaddeus Young would be the player that Brooklyn wants. That's a pretty. Not awkward because KG's about to retire.
When's it time for? I was just about to say, when is it time for this guy to hang it up? I mean, KG has been around for a long time now, and you know what? When you're still at the top of your game, or at least a producing player for a team, there's no reason why you should rush out of the sport. But I think KG has had his best days behind him.
And it's nice to get the player KG back into Minnesota, get the fans into it.
I think that's a good way to finish his career.
Yeah.
one more year.
Not even a year, half a season.
Contribute off the bench.
1/3.
Contribute off the bench, and then take your leave.
And Thaddeus Young is a nice player to have
Yeah.
for the Nets to build
Yeah.
around. Also, let's see, what do we else? We mentioned Reggie Jackson. Did you know Reggie Jackson turned down a 4-year, $48 million extension during the season so far? So Reggie Jackson is looking to get out.
Yeah, he wants out. He wants out of there.
The Nuggets also have players of Ty Lawson's interest. Ty Lawson, nice point guard, and Wilson Chandler. The OKC talked about him earlier in the season, but what people want to know is Goran Dragic.
Goran Dragic, yes.
Now Goran Dragic said he has no interest to play in Phoenix in his career after this season.
Yeah, because he wants to get on to I think he's done there. I think I think he needs to move on. Players sometimes need to bring their, in the NBA especially, they're always moving.
Yes.
I mean, they're always moving.
And something to motivate him.
Yeah, he's playing on the Suns.
Suns are 9 to 7 seed maybe.
Yeah,
if they get lucky, they got 3.
They're a good. They can be a good.
They're a running gun offense.
Yeah, and they can be above average.
Yes,
but he needs to be on a team that is going to go deep into the postseason.
He said he doesn't trust the organization. He doesn't want to be sitting in the corner for threes. And this team acquired. They signed Bledsoe over the offseason and Isaiah Thomas. So Goran Dragic is looking to move out, but hopefully he stays.
Why do you say that?
So the Knicks don't have to give anybody to get him.
That's true.
In the offseason, the Knicks, Goran Dragic and the Knicks, he likes them. It's one of his top teams he wants to go to. It's Los Angeles Lakers and Miami.
So he could just be, become a free agent
and just sign to the Knicks.
And then sign to the Knicks.
But the Knicks also said they mentioned if they want to get Goran now, Hardaway and Calderon would have to be in the deal.
Which, I mean, would you have a problem with that?
Nah.
Because, I mean, to me, Calderon has done nothing for this team so far.
Goran's 28.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They brought Calderon over to be a leader, on the Knicks and try and, I guess, mentor players as well as be. But he was still a very effective player when he came. He was a good point guard. Now he comes over, and you can't. I'm not one of those people who are going to sit here and say, let's analyze and break down Calderon and say that he was no good. You know what? Because the whole team wasn't good, so it's hard to start really truthfully getting down to who was good and who wasn't.
Calderon missed the first 7 games of the season, so the team, like, he started, the whistle already blew. Right. He didn't run yet, and this team was already running, so he had to catch up.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was good.
We must grace the new year with an analogy. I don't think we have yet.
Nah.
And that's uncharacteristic of us. How about David West?
David West, he might be on the move. I heard Toronto, maybe.
Yeah.
And George Hill, if what they said, not Lawson. Did they say Lawson? One of the point guards, and it would have to be George Hill for another point guard.
It's amazing how the Pacers declined this year. It's amazing how they went from, one of the best teams in the East to basically one of the worst.
And Paul George is looking to come back too.
Yeah, he's looking to come back, and what's happened, and what we saw bits and pieces of their decline last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like this pot on the stove bubbling. It was heating. The bubbles, the pot was bubbling and heating, and you could tell that it was ready to explode. And what happened is it exploded, and now it hasn't recovered.
Yes. They had the first
boiling pot last year, and now there's just nothing to look at.
So the trade deadline will be ending at 3 p.m. So teams have 1:30. What's that? An hour and a half?
Yeah.
2 hours and a half.
Right now it's about 1:30. So yeah, they have an hour and a half.
Yeah. So let's see what happens, and let's see what happens on next on AB Conversation.
And we'll be we'll be back.
Might make some moves. So stay here. Might talk about A-Rod. I don't know yet.
We got A-Rod. We got some Yankee talk.
baseball.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Stay tuned here. WICR AB Conversation.
You're listening to WICR, Iona College Radio.
Every decision I've ever made in my entire life has been wrong. My life is the complete opposite of everything I want it to be.